Multiple methods give you multiple lenses through which you can, see and understand a problem. In this case, by using, these case studies that involved the survey analysis, the ethnographic site visits, the interviews, the content analyses, allow us to triangulate our results, ensuring that we could sort of make sense of everything that we had instead of just relying on one particular issue or one particular type of data. If I focus on the interview, so we had this qualitative data that we gathered from the websites. We had our field notes from sort of the site visits and the ethnography. We had the quantitative data from some of our surveys. And we sort of had a framework in our mind. A couple of researchers from Australia, Smith and Shilbury, had put together a comprehensive list of kind of factors that play into identifying and measuring organizational culture. So we sort of had that in our mind as we were kind of asking some of these questions. So for instance, one of the things that they identified that helped to understand an organizational culture was how decisions were made. So without identifying any of the particular organizations, you get a very different kind of organizational culture when decisions are made from the top down. All right, so a very elite kind of focused decision making. Senior executives make decisions, they set policy, and then it's up to the minions across the country to kind of play those out at the local level. Contrast that with a bottom-up sort of approach where volunteers who are on the ground level dealing with the issues and problems on a daily basis help to inform the policy that simply get passed by a volunteer board, and that gives you a very different perspective on how things kind of unfold within that organization. Very difficult for us to understand that without going in and asking those questions. With regard to another element that Shilbury and Smith identified was how they define their competitors. Very different perspective if you go in and ask somebody, who do you identify as your competitors, and they identify another nation or another country. Very elite focused versus another NSO that says another sport. One is very focused on competition and performance, the other is very much on broad grassroots participation. So you can already start to understand which one is going to foster broad inclusion at a grassroots level to get people to participate in sport. Another one that we identified with our site visits. Another variable identified by Smith and Shilbury was this notion of heroes, who organizations identify as their heroes. On the one hand, you get people and sign it like posters and all that kind of stuff, autograph paintings of some of their elite athletes, people who have won gold medals in Olympic Games and captains of teams that won world championships and so forth. Contrast that with pictures of volunteer coaches, who have coached for 25 years, and they're celebrating those sorts of things. When we were at one NSO, they were informing us about an event they were holding that night that celebrated all the teams that had won gold medals that year, and only gold medal teams got invited. Contrast that with a reception that invites volunteer coaches who have helped to fulfill the program's goals and missions across the country, and inviting them to an event. And the same thing when you look around, do you see pictures of kids kicking a soccer ball or playing badminton, or do you see trophies being held up by coaches and captains of teams? So both through the interviews and the site visits, it really helped to get to the source of what that culture is all about.